let's go back in time for a second. Picture this. It's 1933, and America's entire financial system is teetering on the edge of a cliff. The Great Depression has the country in a stranglehold, and the very institutions that are supposed to be the bedrock of the economy, the banks, are just crumbling. So just how bad was it? Well, by 1933, this is the number of banks that had completely failed. 9,000. I mean, just let that sink in for a moment. These weren't just buildings with vaults, they were holding the life savings, the hopes, and the entire futures of millions of regular Americans. And just like that, it was all gone. And you can imagine, with every bank that went under, the panic just spread like wildfire. People's faith in the system, it totally evaporated. It was the same scene playing out all across the country. These long, desperate lines of people just standing outside bank doors, praying they could get their money out before it vanished too. America was drowning, not in water, but in a total crisis of confidence. This whole mess landed right on the desk of the newly elected president, Franklin D. Roosevelt. I mean, can you even imagine the scene in the Oval Office? His advisors are practically pulling their hair out, telling him, "Mr. President, if this panic keeps going, every single bank in America could fail." The pressure was just immense. But it turns out Roosevelt had a plan. And his plan was, well, it was incredibly bold. To stop the bleeding, he didn't just put a bandage on it. He decided to shut the whole system down. It was a massive gamble. I mean, no one had ever tried to shut down an entire nation's economy before. It could have backfired spectacularly. But he did it. He declared a nationwide emergency bank holiday, a total 4-day shutdown. Now, this wasn't just, closing the doors and hoping for the best. No, it was a really smart, calculated 3-step strategy. Step 1, shut down every bank in the country, no exceptions. Step 2, use those 4 days to conduct emergency audits. And step 3, only allow the banks that were proven to be financially healthy to reopen. It was basically radical surgery on a patient that was about to die. So you're probably wondering, how on earth did they pull off this huge inspection? Well, teams of government auditors were sent out all over the country. They walked into these eerily quiet banks, checked the cash in the vaults, and pored over the balance sheets, the bank's financial report card, to see if they were stable. The mission was crystal clear: figure out which banks were healthy and which were too sick to save. But FDR knew that just fixing the numbers on a piece of paper wasn't going to be enough. The real problem he had to fix was trust. See, the crisis wasn't just financial, it was psychological. And this is where he did something America had never really seen before. He knew he needed a calm, clear voice to cut through all that darkness and fear. And with that voice, he reached 16 million people. That was the estimated audience for his very first fireside chat. Now remember, this is way before TV or the internet. He got on the radio and spoke directly to the American people in their living rooms, not like a stuffy politician, but like a friend, a guide. And his message, it was just brilliant because it was so simple and direct. He explained how banking worked in a way anybody could get, and then he made a promise. He said, "I can assure you, your money is safer in a bank than under your mattress." He wasn't giving an order, he was asking for their trust. Okay, so the stage is set, the banks have been inspected, the president has made his case to the American people, and as that 4-day holiday came to an end, the entire country was holding its breath. This was it, the moment of truth. Would people freak out and pull all their money out? Or did they believe him? The fate of the economy hung on that answer. What happened next was just a complete 180. It was incredible. All those scenes of panic we saw before the shutdown, they were replaced by something you wouldn't believe. When the healthy banks reopened, people didn't just stop taking their money out. They started putting it back in. They were literally lining up to deposit the cash they'd been stuffing under their mattresses. Now, to make sure a crisis like this could never, ever happen again, the government created a permanent safety net. You've probably heard of it, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or the FDIC. This wasn't some temporary patch. This was a fundamental change, a permanent backstop for the whole American banking system. And the FDIC's whole mission was simple, but its impact was huge. It was basically a promise from the government straight to the people that said, your money is safe. Back then, it insured your deposits up to $2,500. It meant that even if your specific bank failed, you weren't going to lose your life savings. The results were just immediate and dramatic. In just a matter of days, the country went from the absolute brink of financial collapse to having its trust completely restored.
And in the months that followed, the economy actually started to stabilize. It really was one of the fastest and most successful turnarounds in all of economic history.
When you look back at everything that happened in 1933, it forces you to ask a really important question. It reminds us that things like balance sheets and stock market numbers, they're only part of the story. The entire system, both then and now, really runs on something that's a lot more fragile. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. What's really the most important ingredient for a healthy economy? Is it good policy or is it public trust?